Welcome to another Indie Dev Showcase, highlighting the many dev-submitted games and demos we play here. If you submit a game for a future video, please get in touch. But we are beginning with the game Vivid Night. This is a game that basically combines a roguelike with gacha-style progression and RNG. How it works is that we are exploring these dungeons to try and reach the big bad boss and save the kingdom. All of our characters in the game are represented by different jewels, and of course different rarities. In order to win or to maximize our play, you're looking to get combinations and specific abilities, and to do that, you need to get multiple copies of characters. When you combine them, not only does it level up the character, but you absorb the symbols. And the symbols themselves will give you different abilities and passives based on which ones you collect and how many of them. So the combat itself, you don't have a lot of control over. Your main thing is what kind of spell or attack gems that you see at the bottom of the screen that you can make use of. And these can turn the tide of battle. For each stage, you are limited in terms of how many spaces you can go without needing to refill your power. And again, the whole point or the whole complexity of Vivid Night is creating a party, synergizing with all your symbols and items, and hopefully being able to stand up against the enemies. This is an example of one of those games where you can start winning until you can't, and then all of a sudden the enemy will just snowball you if you're not careful. With that said, I did like this game. It's very charming, and the party-based strategies always work for me in games like this. But with that said, this is still a game where RNG is a huge factor. And if you're trying to build a party around X, and you're not getting those drops, you are in deep trouble. And it can become frustrating in terms of the amount of RNG that's present on each run. But if you do like kind of RPG-based roguelikes, and again, more focus on party dynamics as opposed to reflex-driven gameplay, I would definitely give Vivid Night a shot. We now turn to Pecaminosa, and I'm pretty sure I butchered that title. This is a kind of noir detective RPG, if that makes any sense. But we have been tasked by the ghost of a mobster that we killed. In order to get him into heaven, we need to kind of settle his remaining grudges and take down the remaining bad guys. And to do that, we're going to do what old noir style detectives do. Wander around, get into fights, and of course have some very deep conversations about life and the horrors and nightmares of the city. So the game itself is positioned in a linear style, as you'll go from quest to quest, trying to go up the food chain of the criminal organization in order to take them out. As you play, you'll have to decide how you handle yourself in different situations, which as you level your character up, you'll be able to influence their abilities. You'll wear different clothing that will also change how your character reacts to certain aspects as well. And the quests themselves will all lead towards shootouts and boss fights. The general moment-to-moment gameplay is alright. You'll be able to use a combination of melee and ranged weapons. And as you go through, you'll have to decide in certain points how you react. And I did run into an annoying section where you have to basically infiltrate a police station where anytime you mess up the dialogue, you have to repeat the entire section over. And other reviews of this game have commented on some very frustrating pain points. Especially, it seems a lot of people have been annoyed about the game's final bosses. Now, when we play this one on stream, I did not get that far, so I cannot comment on it. But all in all, this is one of those games that it had, I think, a lot of heart to it, but I just found the general gameplay to get annoying. It is one of those titles where you're going to be spending a lot of time wandering around trying to remember where you have to go or what you should be doing. And then, of course, moments of brief action when you're fighting enemies or getting killed by a boss. If you're a fan of kind of like an action but more story-driven RPG, I would say at least give this one a shot and see if you can enjoy it. But if you aren't a fan of kind of more frustrating aspects in games like this, then this one may not work for you. We now turn to Going Medieval. Now please keep in mind the footage you're seeing is taken from week 1 of its early access and may not represent the current version of it. But this is a game that now is in the long line of colony sim / dwarf fortress likes, where here, as the title implies, we are going medieval, with our mission to rebuild and create the best dang medieval village so that people will live, prosper, and not die of things like hunger and thirst and disease and all that other nasty stuff. So, if you have played or seen any footage of other colony sim style games, then Going Medieval should be very familiar to you. You're going to set up various jobs, people will perform them, each character can have different proficiencies in jobs, but for the most part, your mission is to build the necessary infrastructure for your people to live, work, and survive. The roadmap of the game promises additional content in the form of things you can explore, items you can find, and of course more buildables and craftables. And you can build some fairly robust 3D style buildings in this one. Kind of remind me a little bit of Stonehaven in that respect. With that said, the big problem that Going Medieval had when I played this is just kind of a lack of mid to long term goals. It didn't seem like there was a lot to do in this game, other than again getting the bare essentials of basic jobs, basic resources and defenses and things like that. And I don't know at this time where the game is currently at in its roadmap cycle, if things have been added since. As with a lot of these colony sim style games, what you're seeing right here is what you're getting, and if you hate colony sim games, then Going Medieval is not going to change your mind. But if you do like these kinds of games and looking for one that definitely explores more from a 3D aspect, then I would say at least check it out or keep an eye on it as it goes through its early access. But with that said, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we have 3 more games to look at for this showcase. And as always, if you're interested in my thoughts on design, then check out my latest offerings of books. For entry-level students, we have 20 essential games to study, and then the Game Design Deep Dive series that takes an extensive look at different genres, with free-to-play coming in 2022. For our next game, this is the Hand of Merlin. Now please keep in mind that the footage you're seeing is taken from its early access and will definitely not represent the current version of the game, as it was announced around the time of me recording this video that they just did an update that enhanced the visual effects of it. So this is a tactical RPG kind of roguelite style game where we are dealing with the legend of King Arthur, but also Lovecraft. As during the time of knights and wizards, Lovecraftian horrors have also invaded, and we are going to figure out how to save the land and of course not go insane in the process. So the game itself is set up between the 2 kind of exploration style that you saw going around the land and tactical combat that you see right here. Each party member is a unique individual and has access to different skills and abilities. You can also find and equip artifacts that can grant them additional powers during combat. The combat system itself is the kind of I go, you go style, where you'll go first and then your enemies will go after. Of course, with games like this, your challenge is going to be figuring out how to deal with these enemies without exposing your characters to too much damage, as they will need to rest and repair after each fight. When you play through, you'll have to keep track of range, as line of sight is a factor during combat like this. And as you play through, you'll be able to upgrade your characters, give them new powers, upgrade existing ones, and do all that kind of tactical conundrums as we've come to know and love from these kinds of games. The Lovecraftian elements come in the form of how the land becomes corrupted, and Areas that have higher corruptions are harder and more dangerous, but can yield more resources. And you will also have sections where you'll be forced to fight the monsters, as opposed to your standard thieves, knights, and wizards. My main problem that I have with this game is that it felt like it was a bit hard to keep your momentum going. This is one of those games where every spot on the map you go to is going to drain your resources, very much like FTL and other games like it. So if you're not constantly winning, you're going to be in deep trouble. And I don't know how much the game has grown in terms of its tactical options since I played it, but if you are looking for another tactical RPG to check out, I would say give this one a look. Please keep in mind that I did not get a chance to see kind of the roguelite nature of it, and where it goes since it's been updated in terms of additional content. We turn from one tactical game to another with The Last Spell. Again, this game has been in early access, and what you see may not represent the current version of it. But what we have here is basically the tactical strategy equivalent of They Are Billions. Our story is that the world has been overrun thanks to a spell that has run amok, and the undead and demons now threaten the last stronghold of humanity. Your mission is to protect the remaining wizards who can undo the spell from the never-ending waves of monsters. The structure of the game is played out over day-night cycles. During the night cycles, as you can see here, your mission is to use your remaining survivors in order to defend against lots and lots of undead monsters. Each character can be equipped with different weapons, which in turn affect what their abilities are. Abilities can use different combinations of action points, magic points, and you get the picture, in order to attack in different ways. With the weapons themselves representing the quote-unquote classes, it means that you're going to have to figure out what is the best order or combination to deal with these enemies. The enemy AI is kept on the simplistic side. They will charge forward and attack the nearest thing that's in their way. Your actual mission is prevent any and all damage to the actual town itself, because the town will provide you with resources and upgrades that you can spend on during the day sessions. The game does feature persistent elements, with being able to unlock additional structures, passive abilities, and more, using persistent currency that you earn based on how well you play the game. Now, the challenge of The Last Spell is that you really need to be thinking like 2 steps ahead in terms of who's attacking what part of the horde, what you're going to give up when you're going to move, because you need to spend resources to heal characters if they take damage during the night, and if a character is killed, they are gone for good. And just like with some of the other games we've shown over this video, once you start losing, it can become very hard to pull out that downward spiral. I really like the concept of The Last Spell, and the only reason why I'm not playing more of it on stream is simply because I don't want to get burnt out while it's been in its early access. But if you do like defending style games, They Are Billions, and especially tactical strategy combat, definitely check out The Last Spell. For our final game, this is Mighty Goose, the game that dares to ask the question we've all wondered: what if a goose could also be an intergalactic bounty hunter and must save the galaxy from evil? So the gameplay itself is definitely on the Metal Slug run and gun side-scrolling kind of design. Mighty Goose here can power up and upgrade his weapons and get also special passive chips that can be activated. You get a sidekick who can follow you around, and your goal is to go left to right or right to left, killing all manner of bad guys. And yes, you also get a dedicated honk button if that is important for you. So the game itself is just about completely ever-increasing degrees of ludicrousness of our goose here killing all manner of bad guys in the galaxy. If you're hoping for more in-depth gameplay or a lengthy experience, you're not going to find that with this one. It is on the short side. There is a kind of quote-unquote new game plus where you have to replay things on a higher difficulty. But all in all, if you have any expertise in side-scrolling design or side-scrolling gameplay, then this one shouldn't be too bad for you. It definitely kind of plays to the memes, but there's still solid gameplay here. I would like to see maybe a sequel made that does more with co-op, or just expanding the general gameplay out. So, with that said, we're going to wrap up this week's showcase here. I'd like to thank all the games that were submitted. As always, if you'd like to submit a title for a future piece, please get in touch. Do all the liking, subscribing, and commenting, of course. Check out our Discord and Patreon link down below, and come back for daily discussions on game design here, and on game wisdom, where some of the art and science of games. And until next time, take care.